This episode brought to you by Dan's dictatorial and somewhat fascist show notes regime.
Okay.
Flap, flap, flap.
Oh, that's so good. That was good. This is Hot Drop, where we bring you premier gaming analysis and dictatorial drops.
Senatorial.
I am the Senate, and I'm Dano.
I'm Cody.
And I'm John, and let's get into it. We are Hot Drop. This is the intro. I skipped every line except that one. I was reading everything. We are Hot Drop, and this is the intro to the podcast. You might know us from the very feed you are listening to, where we talk about PUBG and other games for the last few years. If you're new to the show, we also have other podcasts, Dive, featuring variety banter and research informational learnings, and the Tarkov Escape Pod, where Dan used to talk about Tarkov. He used to. He still does sometimes, too.
We also have a Discord where you can hang out with mature, like-minded gamers or just be notified that we're going live on Twitch every Monday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/the_hotdrop. While you're there, notice how much John doesn't use it.
And we have one of the hottest things that no one has heard yet because no one has called, or have they? We have the hotline, 508-216-0006. Call it, tell us about the game you're playing, because it's probably not this one, but it should be. And also, if you want to support the show, we love money.
Money!
But more than that, we love feedback.
Feedback!
Seriously, leave a review on whatever app you're using, join the Discord, post in the show feedback section, tweet us at the Hot Drop, email us at hotdroppodcast@gmail.com. We want to hear your thoughts on the podcast and the game.
Game?
That's what most people say because no one plays this game.
Yeah, they really should, though.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about some pretty cool shit this episode as well. So we're going to be talking about traits and loadouts. So saddle up, non-gender specific individuals.
Hey. Tell me about
right, so
loadouts, Cody.
No. Let's talk traits first. I like your head shape. I
Okay.
like John's hair.
Yep.
I think he's very nice.
Sometimes.
I think that you are a fascist dictator
Okay,
who needs
all
to be
right.
put into a gulag.
This is not Call of Duty Warzone, okay? But I'm going to make it Warzone in a second.
All right, let's talk about this game. Let's talk about our loadout situations. It is more than just what you're strapping on to go shoot people in the face, right?
Mhm.
In this game, you have a multitude of weapons to choose from, a good amount of tools to pick from, consumables to throw and or utilize in other lethal ways. And then along with that, we have traits that make those things better. They make it work for you, make your money work for you, make
Yeah.
your loadout work for you.
And if it's not working for you, give us your money.
It's my loadout and I want it now.
508-216-0006.
So first,
geez.
we can talk about the weapons that we use because that's a pretty easy thing to get out of the way. Cody,
Yeah.
you brought up a really good combo yesterday when we were playing.
Yeah, and it didn't occur to me until you guys had been talking about what you often bring in, and I realized in that match I hadn't been able to bring it in until I got it in a non-free person. So I paid a big chunk of change to get this person because I hadn't unlocked it yet. But before we had prestiged the last time, I found myself going with the Mosin Oberez and the dual wielding of the officer brawlers. And prior to dual wielding in the last update, I had only brought in the one officer brawler, but this is a compacted. Ooh, my bad. This is a compacted Mosin that is a bolt action, does some serious damage, and if you kill enough things with it, you can get a mace attached to the backside. Well, it's not really a mace. Have you guys ever noticed that? It's not really a mace. It's just like a metal cap.
Yeah.
But either way, I love it because it's small, it hits really hard, and you can swing it when you're in a bind. But those brawlers are literally one of my favorite weapons in this entire game because they have the dusters on the grips, and they fire at like 126 shots per minute.
Damn.
I love it. I love it so much. and they do 91 damage per hit. So that only counts headshot, though, right? It's 91 for a headshot, or is it 91
chest?
Chest. Okay, yeah.
Because headshot would be a one hit, 150.
Oh, right.
Or more.
Everything's a one hit, isn't it?
Yeah, within range. Yeah.
Yeah, that always confuses me when it comes to this kind of stuff. Regardless, those are the weapons that I love to bring in because they're quick to switch. They feel faster. I feel like I can aim better when I'm using them, especially with those dual wields. They're because the accuracy is so far off. I feel like I'm like Wyatt Earp, pew 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 pew, and then I can punch too. So
what's not to love?
Pew punch. I'm really just a jack of all trades at that point.
Yeah, the cool thing about this setup is you have the long range. So the Mosin Obres is usually a rifle, but this is the compact version, so it's medium. You have 2 mediums in the slots.
Best trait ever, by the way. Double mediums.
And then the Mosin also has a 5-round stripper clip that you can reload if you're out of bullets in the gun. Then you can do
magazine,
a really quick.
I guess.
Yeah, it's an internal magazine.
Internal magazine, yeah.
Yeah. And then you can reload it with the stripper clip, which is great. It also combines the Dusty Boys, which is your favorite melee, I think.
God, I love them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have it's a double action pistol. The Nagant Officer is a double action.
It's one of the few in the game. There aren't very many double actions.
Yeah.
It might be the only one, actually.
No, well, any of the that version, that's like one of the variants of that.
Right, so it's a variant, so you have to use it. But yeah, it's a really good combo, and that solves an issue which, Dan, you were talking about yesterday as well, which is the problem with a long-range, close-range exclusive loadout.
Yeah. So also, along with this, before I dive into that, this loadout is exactly what I used. The thought process behind this is hit him with the
kill him
long
with
range,
kindness.
with the bolt action, something that does a lot of damage. But if they start getting up close to you and you realize, oh shit, I missed, or oh shit, I don't have time to wait for the bolt cycle, I can switch over to my secondary, which is a good small and medium range weapon that shoots quickly. That's the key, because you want to be able to follow up with multiple shots quickly if you happen to miss with your big gun.
I would like to jump in here really quick and also add that my loadout specifically is because I am bad at switching. That is how I kind of found my groove with it, is because I am not, is dexterous the right word? I'm not dexterous enough to take my hand off, not looking, and hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so these weapons, I can just hit my melee button while I'm holding my primary if I need to, because both have a melee on them.
And they are blunt damage, so if you're a immolator, I don't
have to worry about almost anything, because if I hit something in the head, it's going to die. Yeah. And fun fact, Dan and I discovered that if you hit Q, you switch between your primary and secondary weapons the other day.
I've never once hit Q on purpose.
That has been mucho helpful.
Quick switch, primary, secondary. It's great. No, it's not the last thing you had equipped. I think it's just quick switch between the two.
It is. I tested it yesterday.
Gotcha. Cool. So what John was starting to get at was a situation that I ran into, I think it was 2 stream nights ago. And I thought I was all big brain plays here. I'm going to bring a medium-sized Springfield. It's a breech loader rifle, medium ammo, medium range, medium ammo. Thinking, okay, I'm good from short range, medium range, and I can even reach out and touch people long range with that. And then with my secondary, I did a hand cannon. So big brain Dano's strutting around the fucking swamp thinking he's hot shit, suddenly encounters someone medium range and is totally fricked. Completely fricked.
Cried.
I cried. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I go to shoot him with my Springfield and I miss. And I'm like, okay, I have nothing else medium range or short range for a quick follow-up shot. And I say the hand cannon is not short range because the hand cannon is like, arm's distance range.
Touch
That's
your
like
friend,
ultra small.
Touch your enemy in the chest.
Yeah, like there was just no possible way I was going to be able to switch to a hand cannon and do any damage whatsoever. So now you've got, along with that, you've got 2 breach loading weapons that take forever and a day to reload, and you've got a guy fighting against you that has a Bornheim, and you're screwed. There's no way you can win that fight unless you happen to hit him first with the Springfield and he backs up and it gives you time to reload it. So my first tip is don't use 2 breach loading weapons, especially ones that are medium to long and then ultra close range.
My advice is never use a breach loading weapon because it's for idiots. They're stupid, dumb idiots who don't know how to fight well.
It's really good if you shoot them in the face.
Really good.
Yeah, but name anyone named Cody who can shoot anyone in the face at any point ever.
Cody Svensson.
Shut up, John.
No.
Agent Cody Banks.
No. Frankie Muniz can just... No.
I would like to slide in an extra tip there and say that knowing what guns your opponent is using really lets you take advantage of the situation. Dan having shit guns for the engagement allowed the enemy to push at the correct distance and take advantage of the situation. So if you can figure out if somebody's using, a one-shot breech loader, or if they start firing off like a ton of fanning rounds, they're probably going to be reloading at some point. So you can have situational awareness and be able to take advantage of it.
Especially the reloading side, yeah. And if you're using fanning with the revolver, it's going to take them a solid 10 seconds or more to reload that thing. And even if they choose to break off of the reload, not complete it, so they say they end that reload early, they're still going to have to spin the cylinder and be all fancy boy before they return fire, and they'll have less than a full magazine. So it's all about timing, using cover, knowing what they're fighting you with, knowing what they're shooting at you with, and like taking advantage of the timing between reloads or between cycles of the bolt to get your extra shots on them.
Checks out.
It's tough. All of these guns are like super high risk, super high reward. Almost every single gun in the game.
There is not a loadout in here that I feel is the loadout. We had this small discussion about meta on the stream the other day, and I don't feel there is anything that people flock to one way or another. It's all about your preference, because whatever you pick, there are some serious downsides too. With my loadout specifically, right? So I have a quick rate of fire, but a low damage compared to a lot of other weapons, but I also can use my melee at the same time. Now with the Mosin, you only get like 12 shots. You have to be aware of how many shots you're using, because I think it does like 130 damage per hit. However, if you can't find long ammo all of a sudden, you're screwed.
And even if you do, it's like one per pickup.
Yeah, no matter what. If you get a box or you get a cache, an ammo stash, you're only getting 3 maximum. And so you're scrounging the entire time. And the distance on the dual wielders are not great. They're I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's not great compared to the rest of the pistols. And so like I have a downside here where, yeah, I could hit somebody, but I have limited chances to be able to do it. Whereas you take a Winfield in, does less damage, but you have, 60 rounds to be able to use, something like that.
Yeah, lots of shots.
Yeah.
Talking meta, I think the one thing I'd like to hear John's opinion on this, because I know he likes to bring it in sometimes. The conversion uppercut is a very interesting gun because it basically gives you a rifle in a pistol slot, in a small slot. And if you can control that, it opens up a lot of loadout options, because you can now use a medium or long anything, but you've got your long range already covered. What do you think about the conversion uppercut? Because I feel it's probably meta in some way with the very experienced, very good shot, very long-term players. I think they might go for this almost every time.
It might be a really good choice to do what you mentioned, which is like get a shot off with like a Springfield or whatever, hit them, and then follow up with a uppercut, because it does so much damage. It is long ammo. So of the pistols, it just like it has a really good distance and really good damage. So I think it would be effective in that way. I have not been able to properly utilize it. I tend to use the other guns that don't kick as hard, because it feels like it kicks out of my hand, and that's not what I'm looking for in a pistol. So I'd rather go for an officer or like the Caldwell conversion packs or something, just a easier pistol to handle that I can try and get headshots with at like a medium range and be fine with it.
And we got to talk about that. Last night, I used the regular conversion pistol. It's like $26. It does, I want to say, 91 damage per hit, 6-shot, and I hit 3 headshots in a row on the same team. Hit him
From
once.
far.
From
far.
medium to long range. Yeah, it was far. Hit him once, the enemy picked him up, and then I hit them both 1-2, all headshots, 3 in a row. It was crazy, and I was very surprised by the lack of recoil, and I even said it on stream. I was like, there's hardly any recoil with this thing. I actually like this quite a bit. It seems like it's too cheap for what you get.
The difference between the uppercut and the normal conversion, the kick is worlds apart. Worlds apart.
Yep.
You'll break your nose compared to the other one. Like you're pow.
Yeah. But man, the risk and reward, it hits so strong, like so many other guns.
We actually see a lot of people use it, like carrying it around, especially the good players. So
yeah.
There is a place for it. We just haven't found it exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So what about shotguns? Because we haven't talked shotguns. I feel like for me, that's one of my go-tos. Boss, lair, breaching, or defending. The one-hit potential, especially with the rival, you get 2 shots, boom, boom, the double barrel. I don't really like the pump. I think there's a little bit too much of a delay between shots. But that Auto 5 is probably my favorite gun in the game.
The Auto 5 is pretty great. It's a heavy hitter, but like when you start to kind of round off with them, like in quick succession, you become much less accurate.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be a lot smarter with that weapon than you do with even the other shotguns, even the pump action, right? Because you have time to kind of get back down.
That's true.
And with this, it I don't know. It's not like an up and down. It's sort of like you take steps back every time you hit. Every time you pull the trigger. It seems that way. I know that that's not accurate.
And the range
is
killer. So short.
Yeah. The range is awful on pretty much any of the shotguns.
Yeah.
But I like the Romero. I think similar to your encounter with the regular conversion pistol or the Caldwell conversion packs or whatever. The Romero has really good damage, and you don't have to be quite as close as the other shotguns. It has a decent range for a shotgun in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And I tend to be near cover when I'm going to use a shotgun, either waiting behind a corner or a door or something like that. So it gives me that opportunity to shoot back around a corner and reload. Like yesterday, I was being chased by a melee dude, and this was with the hand cannon, but he was able to stab me, and I was able to run kind of like in an angle that he didn't expect. So I was able to get a reload off and spin around and shoot him with the hand cannon.
Did a full 180.
And it's like super effective. And that was a time when I didn't have an opportunity to duck around a corner, but I was still able to get that second shot off because some of the melee mechanics are a little clunky.
Yeah.
So I tend to like the Romero. I do like the other shotties, but it just, you have to be so close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like for you guys, the shotgun is more versatile for like situations, but I use it because I can't aim.
And that works.
It does work, and I think that's like a key point to bringing in a shotgun. However, I have to be smart about it. Like I can never bring in the hand cannon. I can never bring in the Talon or anything like that because I'm not quick enough like that. Dan and I were talking about it last night. I think it might have been after you had gotten off. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
We were up top, and I kept asking him to push because I'd hit a guy, and I knew I couldn't reload fast enough. And I had waited for him, and he went down below because mostly he knew that I wouldn't be able to do it. But it was one of those things that, like, I probably did have enough time to just reload and do exactly what you had just said, but I wasn't smart enough to do it. So, like, I don't move out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
I just think this is my only opportunity. I have to try to reload standing still or keep firing with whatever else I have. But you're pretty tactical when it comes to running away, reloading, and turning around.
Yeah.
Dan too.
It's tough.
Especially with that double barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's tough to know. There's a lot of like calculations you got to do on the fly as you shoot, and then duck to cover. And as they're running at you, you have to sort of calculate: do I have enough time to pull off this reload? And sometimes you do. But I find, Cody, you switch to your other weapons a lot to try to get a follow-up shot with something else.
Yep.
And it depends
Sometimes
on what you
it's on
have.
accident.
What your secondary is.
Sometimes it's an
Sometimes it
accident.
works.
Last night there was an accident involved.
It's that Q button. It gives and it takes.
Yeah.
All right.
I have
I
mini
wanna-
strokes.
I want to move on to the other things other than weapons.
Yeah,
because I feel
yeah.
Like we talked about this a decent amount last episode.
Yeah, what do you got?
Number one things, multiple, that I bring into every match is first aid kit, a knife, or you could say melee, whatever, and a vitality shot. And those are must-have, top of the list.
Have. Number one things.
What I find is you guys bringing those vitality shots, and until very, very, very recently, I never brought anything in. Nothing shot-wise. Never.
Oh, you got
I always
to.
thought they were a waste of time. But I stopped bringing things in when I have the different traits that counteract those also. Because I like my throwables. And I would rather fill my slot with a throwable than bring in a vitality shot or an antidote or anything like that.
I think that's a valid choice, and you can deck out first aid kits to, if you get physician, then you bandage quicker. If you get doctor, then you double the amount that the first aid heals. So both of those are super excellent ways to free up what would be a vitality shot slot.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I like when I don't have resilience, which gives you 100 HP when you get revived. I like being able to duck around a corner, shoot up, and then get back into the fight really quickly. That's usually my plan with vitality shot.
Yeah, instead of taking the time for 2 first aids to get you back up. That's actually an interesting point. I'm thinking about this now, and I'm thinking how John and my play styles are pretty similar. We're runners and gunners. We like to get in hot. We like to take the fight to our enemies. Cody likes to play a little more slow. You like to throw a lot of stuff. You like to be more tactical in that sense. And so you filling up. Yeah, you filling up with throwables actually probably helps the team because you don't really need the vitality shot. You don't need the vitality shot because you're not up close as often. So if you can provide support with the throwables, that's going to benefit all of us.
To further drive that point home, if I am not dead first because I'm not good, say you guys die because you pushed in and I am up, I would say more than 75% of the time, I am less focused on killing those people than I am about getting to one of you and picking you up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, I have the ability because I know that like I can throw shit pretty well. And I am not good when I am anywhere near even a one-on-one. It's just not, I'm not accurate. And so I will oftentimes make my play to come and get one of you rather than push in and try and like save the day and like 2-on-1 or 3-on-1 anything, because I'll never do it. But I always end up having an extra bandage or anything that you guys never want for some reason. I'm always like, do you want me to heal you? And you're like, no, I'm good. And I'm like, okay, but you're going to spend 5 minutes looking for a health box.
And be really annoying asking us 5 times, I need a health box. I need a health box. Anyone seen a health box? But there's some pretty cool tools in this game. So there's a lot of different things you can use to defend, to breach, to fake other teams out, like chaos bombs, blank fire decoys, and also the consumables. Like there's a lot of weapons at your disposal that don't shoot. Ha ha ha. Get it? And some of those things completely useless, like the flare pistol and like the quad derringer, the spyglass. Even the throwing knives literally have one purpose, just to kill the concertina armored, nothing else. If you kill someone with a throwing knife, if you kill me with a throwing knife, good for you, man.
That would be so good.
Good for you.
I use the throwing knives to set off the concertinas so I'm not wasting ammo.
That's a good one. You can use decoys or throwing knives to blow up the lanterns.
Yeah.
To kill the dogs or the chickens with those lanterns too. You can trigger trip mines or anything like that. So
Well,
that's really good use for it.
When it comes to those tools, though, it's hard to pick because until you, for me specifically, because I pick the brawlers now, I don't need to bring in dusters, and so I have an extra slot for something. But the tools do not have as many worthwhile tools as the consumables do. And so to fill that slot, I end up either picking blank decoys for no reason, or I just pick the throwing knives because it's something that I know I can use it for something.
That's a really good point. I never fill the last slot in my tools section. It's
because
always
there's not enough.
There's not enough. There's no reason to take anything else. There's knife always, first aid kit always, and then concertina trip mines when I remember to buy them. And then there's nothing in that last slot.
What is it with you two not remembering concertina trip mines?
I've been trying to save money.
Save money, yeah. They're $90. They're expensive.
I buy them every single time. I buy them every single time.
The other thing that we could start bringing, we actually ran into this yesterday when we jumped in the barn, or when I jumped in the barn window. I almost died flat out from a concertina trip mine and a poison trip mine going off at the same time. Brutal. I was poisoned, bleeding. Actually took me down to like 10 HP before I was able to get out, and then I had to wait for the poison to go away before I could heal.
And that's a heavy poison too, right?
Crazy.
It takes a long time.
So if that is a very strong combo, that for places that have fewer entrances, we could start doing that. I believe, I'm not sure. Cody, do you know if you can stack concertina trips for the equipment?
I don't think you can
use that slot.
You cannot. No, it won't let you. But if you have, what is it, Frontiersman trait, you can reutilize tools.
Yeah, you'll get an extra.
So you get an extra tool.
But you can take a slot to I think you can do it with, maybe it's not consumables, or maybe
you can do it with tools. Consumables. You can't do it with tools.
Okay. So yeah, you could take in 2 vitality shots. But anyway, yeah, I think those are helpful. I actually think fusees, I've been starting to use them to try and keep enemies' vision low.
Oh man, they are super bright in dark spaces.
Surprisingly bright.
Yeah, so when there's like somebody was peeking out a window and I threw a fusee up there so that they would have to be like, they're basically blinded by it, and it kind of removed that window as an option for them to peek for a bit. And there are ways to deal with that, like you can shoot it to put it out or something like that, but I think that's a helpful tool. It also, you can burn concertina armoreds with it. You hit them with it. Sometimes I use it on hives or whatever, but they are semi-useful.
And they're only $5. I mean, if you're gonna attack concertina armoreds with either a fusee or a throwing knife, $40 for a throwing knife, and it still takes 3 of the however 6 many you get, and it takes 1 fuse to kill them. So, but like Cody was saying and what we were saying, there's really not a lot of value in a lot of these tools. I guess you could double up on trip mines. You could do concertina trip and then alert trip or poison trip.
Yeah, but I never got as far to unlock poison trip.
I never did either. Yeah,
I get them sometimes and I'm like, these are really helpful, but I've never gotten to. So if you go through these, the throwing knives have a purpose, but they're not all that great.
Yeah,
the spyglass is totally useless because you can see pretty damn far as is, and people move around so much that even if you could see them, like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The Derringer is like the fail-safe to the fail-safe, and so I don't know why you would ever bring in a 4-shot Derringer that does like 70 damage or something 74. Like that. Yeah, it's nothing.
I got killed once by it, I think.
Yeah. Wow, good for them. So then you have 3 different kinds of knives that, yes, they do different damage levels, but like, don't bring in any of the other 2. The fuses, flare gun, which I like from time to time. I've never brought in the electric lamp on purpose.
No.
Decoy fuses, and blank fire decoys, and the rest are trip mines.
Yep.
And so like there's a lot here, but not a lot of versatility in between. And then you go to the consumables and you're like, oh, I could use almost all of these.
Yeah. In many different scenarios.
Well, maybe that's why the tools, you don't have to buy them over and over. Maybe that's why they're reusable between rounds, is because they are less useful overall, I guess.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, so like I have a strategy here, whereas if you use the entirety of your tool, you do have to rebuy it. If you come out of it with 1 trip mine, you don't get to keep your trip mines. You do have to buy it again.
What? No, that's not true.
Are you sure? Because I tested it yesterday. I was down to one, or I was down to none, and I picked one up at the end out of looting a body because it gave me back my concertinas. But when we got to the thing, it wasn't in my inventory for the next round.
Interesting. I'd have to test that again because I'm on John's side. I feel like it would probably come back to you.
I thought it was, and that's why I tried to test it last night.
Oh, interesting.
Well, I know first aids, and I've used concertina trips before that come back, but I don't know what the system would be for if you pull it off a body. I don't know if that matters or not.
Like
maybe it does, or maybe if you have, maybe it has to be a certain amount depending on whether or not you're using Frontiersman. Because I was using Frontiersman at the time, so I could have had 3, but I only had 1.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So it doesn't count.
Maybe, I don't know, but it definitely happened.
Interesting. Going to the list of consumables, I volley for the antidote, stamina, and vitality shot to be put in the tools section. What do you guys think of that?
Say them again. Vitality.
All the shots. Put all the shots in the tools section. What do you think of that change?
Too strong.
Too strong?
Yeah, if it does recharge, how I think they should recharge and how I think the tools list says they recharge, then I think that would be too strong to get them over and over and over. But maybe. I don't know.
Nah, what if you took the weak ones, though? So the weak ones, think of them like first aids, but the full big boys, I would be on board for that. Not
the
that
weak
this would
poison is still like...
The weak poison does it 30 minutes, though, so like that, you're right about that.
That's the one that I take in. I don't take the full poison in anymore, because we're never in a game for more than 30 minutes.
Yeah, you're right.
Happened once.
Yeah, there's so many consumables that have different uses. Like the sticky bomb, great for bosses. Would never really use it against players. The wax dynamite stick, which we just talked about before we hit the record button. Never bring it in on purpose, but now that I realize that it's for detonation underwater, I just might bring it in more because my dynamite throws might hit a puddle and then put it out. So I might use that more. Poison bomb, fire bomb, hive bomb, flash bomb, frag bomb, concertina bomb, choke bomb. Like there's a lot of different uses for all of these consumables. And because you're limited on the slots and you want to take the shots in, you really only have slots for 2, maybe 3 at the most. And that's even generous because I try to stick with a antidote and a vitality shot. So that's 2.
You bring 2 in every time?
Almost every time I bring 2 shots in, I
That's
always bring the
crazy to
vitality.
So without a doubt, I always grab a sticky. It's $64 and it's a lot of money, but we always need it one way or another. And then I go like small to... I pick 2 smaller ones and then 1 like odd one every single time. So I take a sticky bomb, I take a dynamite stick, and then I will pick whether or not I'm going with like a hellfire or a flash or a frag. But it's like most of the time it's a combination of one or all of those. I'm a big fan of the medium dynamite bundle too. The big one's just too high of a risk for the reward you're going to get with it. Because you'll get like one guy and hurt another, but the medium one's just a better bet of when you're going to throw it and probably hit somebody.
That's a decent range. That's 9 meters. That's like a shotgun blast. It does 1,500 damage versus the regular dynamite stick does 500. That's pretty legit. And then the big one, the big dynamite bundle does 3,000 damage.
It's insane.
At a 10-meter radius, but it's $110.
So like that's the thing. Like the radius is not great.
So the consumable that I'm most betrayed by is Hive Bomb.
Oh my god!
I hate it so much.
Useful. It can be so useful, but it also just destroys us when we try and use it.
Yeah, at the worst possible time.
You have to be so like close to be able for it to stick to somebody else.
Yeah. I need to figure out how it works. Is it line of sight?
No.
Or like how does the hive know who to attract to?
Okay, so say you are 40 meters apart. It has to be on that side of the 20 meters in order for it to not go to you.
Right.
So it's area of effect, not like visual. It sees you and attacks you.
Yeah. And so if you throw it and it happens to be 19 on your side, you're the one that's going to get killed by the hive bomb. Yeah.
And so if you look at the line, if it's red, it will come towards you.
Oh,
And
I
that's
didn't know that.
true. That's true of all throwables. If you see a red marker, that means it's going to, when it lands in that spot, when it blows up, it will do damage to you.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So that's a good visual indicator. It might just be that we have to get that pitcher trait in order to make it more useful.
I get pitcher a lot.
I rarely get it.
That's like second tier traits for me.
Interesting. Before we get into traits, I have to say, the one tactical gadget that always impresses me, dare I say wows me every single time I use it, the Concertina bomb. It goes off and you're like, holy shit.
It's so big.
It's so big.
It's like the equivalent of dropping and puncturing a can of like foaming insulation.
Or Pillsbury cinnamon buns.
It just fills up the room and you're pressed against the wall.
Fun fact, those two items are actually made from the same base material.
Hey.
Makes sense. That makes sense.
It does. One's very delicious.
Yeah, I love foaming insulation.
Yeah.
I really like. I tend to take in an explosive or and then also a firebomb. Their firebombs are so useful for blocking off an area or anything like that. And then chucking a dynamite stick in a window is helpful to either clear your area out or make sure they're not there or whatever.
Yeah. I like dynamite sticks. Sorry to cut you off. I just want to say dynamite sticks, great because they're so cheap. They're so cheap, and they're much better than a decoy because they'll actually do damage. So they scare people off. That's a big psychological thing.
Yeah, and Dan mentioned this last night. Using the tool or the consumables for zoning is also really effective.
Yeah.
Poison bomb obviously is probably the most effective because that thing stays around. If you throw that on somebody who's dead, it will kill them again when you revive. Actually, it might not anymore with the changes to poison, but it is still pretty strong. Standing in a poison, the poison area is very, very rough.
Yeah.
So that one's really good for zoning. Fire is obviously good for zoning. Even the choke can let you know when somebody pushes around that area because they'll start coughing
for a long time.
Yeah,
they can give away position pretty well, and it chokes out fire, right? It puts out fire.
Yeah, and any throwables that have a fuse along with them.
We should start using that a bit more defensively.
We should. We definitely should.
You can't throw throwables through that zone. I believe it will also. I can't remember if this is true or not. They added something to disperse poison fields, and I think it was choke, and I'm not sure.
When they made those fire changes, maybe, right?
Yeah. But I know that an explosion near one of those barrels that has the swarms in it, or a hive bomb, will kill the swarm as well. So that's also
nice. And that's what I'm saying. Like, there's so many uses for all of these consumables, and then you look at the tools list, and it's like, hey guys, I'm here too. You can get decoy fuses. I'm helpful.
Flash bombs, super fun to use. Can be crazy useful. The best thing probably about them is the hit marker. If you tag somebody with it, you know exactly when you've hit somebody. So you can kind of clear an area. If you throw a flash like right in a door that you're gonna breach through or whatever, that's really helpful because you'll know if somebody is standing right.
I've only started using them in the last week, and I love it. They're
strong, and they flash you for a long time.
If you don't throw it out of your line of sight, you're fucked too.
Yeah. Red line. Look for that. That's what I'm going to think from now on. Never considered that. I just thought it's like, hey, this is going to hit the windowsill if you throw it. That's why it's red. It will actually hurt.
I had that thought the other day, but I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
No, I just never thought of it that hard, though.
John said it, so it must be true.
He made a great point.
Though he does not like making great points, Daniel.
No, I love it. I just didn't have any points.
No.
Okay, Dad.
Don't make me stand up.
Don't do it.
I will flail my goddamn arms.
You'll hit your mic. He's standing up.
I'm standing. I'm flailing my arms, and I'm speaking about things that I don't have a whole lot of information on. Who's right now, John?
You, Dad.
That's right. Goddamn Potter Familius.
Potter Familius. Anyway, let's
traits.
move into frickin' traits, shall we?
Traits, baby.
Before we talk about traits, though, we
Oh,
gotta talk about how sweet the frickin' artwork is. The coolest thing in this game.
Shall we? It is pretty dope.
It's so cool. It's so cool. It's so hauntingly scary and just amazing.
They look like everything kind of resembles a tarot card,
Yeah.
and that's what I like about it.
mm-hmm.
It's so cool.
The artwork is very detailed. It seems like they were really part of the lore making.
Mm-hmm.
It's very cool. I love it so much.
It
So
ties
it's
the
like
game together.
Yeah,
It
it
really
does.
does.
I would say it's grotesque without being like
Offensive in nature.
Yeah.
like there's some blood, but it's not like, I don't know. It's hard to describe. You just have to see it, and it's haunting. It's grotesque. It fits so well.
It reminds me of old-timey medieval paintings that are like depicting what hell would be.
Yeah.
And it's like all those dioramas of people just getting eaten and getting fucked up. Like that's this, but more refined. This is more refined.
All of the wallpapers or the trait artworks, I don't know. They just seem to have taken so much thought to really encapsulate what it is in such and still fit the theme of this being like an alternate universe in a familiar place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really cool stuff. So the artist is Ina Kuz. Her website is on ArtStation, so just look it up, Hunt Artwork. You'll find her website. And there's a lot of stuff that they didn't use. There's a lot of concept art on that site that they haven't put into the game.
Yeah,
It's just as good as the stuff that made the cut.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. And you can actually order prints.
That's dope. More people should be into this game. This is a
know.
real hidden gem that people are not paying attention to.
I know. Well, maybe with this podcast, we'll get more people into it. Hopefully.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Traits. Well, how do you get them? Well, first off, when you start with a basic tier 1 hunter,
Let's explain what traits are first.
they don't have any. Yeah, let's talk about what they are. So, Cody, you take it.
So traits are like passive attributes that you can give to your hunters as a reward for doing well in a round previously. So they can be, when you do well in a round, say you win, you come out, they will give you trait points that you can use to upgrade your hunter. And there is a list of them that you can earn for, a certain number of points. Some are 1, 3, 5, 7, 8, it goes up. And over time, by the time that you have maxed out your hunter at level 50, you should be able to fill your bar of, 12 different attributes or something like that. Maybe it's 10.
Maybe more, actually. The number of trait
It was
slots?
20.
I think it's it's probably 20.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a lot. I haven't been able to fill the bar maybe once, actually.
Oh, I fill it every time we retire someone.
Oh, wow. I think I'm buying expensive traits is why.
Yeah,
Those
maybe.
8-point ones.
Either way, you end up using this and it passively helps your hunter do better against other things. And there are things that will help your health, accuracy, reload times, the ability to carry more. But they're all pretty specific and you have to choose wisely based on your loadout. And I think that we don't all use the same stuff all the time. Like, you guys pick much differently than I do. And that's kind of the fun part is like finding out based on your loadout and how you're doing that day, which you're going to use. And some are good. I think some are trash. But overall, I think that this is one of the coolest parts of the game.
Yeah, and they're very balanced. None of them are too powerful, I think. Some
15.
of them, 15?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
Nice. Some of them are very good, but none of them are too good. That's kind of my thought.
Yes.
I would agree.
And some of them change the game. I mean, some of them completely will change how you should approach a match or change how people can defend against you.
Oh, like Serpent was one,
Yeah.
a huge one. So Serpent is a trait where previously in the game, people would be able to kill the boss and then not pick up the tokens as to, 1, not waste the dark sight, and 2, bait people into the building So you're kind of holding it hostage, and it's kind of forcing people to want to come in because they're not anticipating you leaving. But Serpent allows you, a person who is not using dark or not holding it, to interact with clues and bounties from a distance of 25 meters. So you can be 25 meters away from the tokens that another team has killed the monster for and take it without them knowing or even coming inside the building.
That's huge. That's
massive. And so it's forced us to pick those up without really wanting to pick those up and then fighting from there instead of waiting until we've gotten everybody down and doing it. Game changer.
Exactly. Even investigating clues from distance, not as big of a change, but you could still pull off some nice moves if someone is around a clue and you don't want to fight them.
If you're close to a clue and the clue changes to red, it indicates that to you, and you just want to get it and get out. That's the perfect opportunity to use Serpent as well.
Yeah. The big thing about the change is, like you said, when you pick up the clues, you appear as lightning bolts on the map, thus giving away your position. If you killed the monster and you want to just leave the clue or leave the token on the ground, you could do that. But now you can't. Now you want to pick that up because someone might come in and snatch it out from under you.
Okay, so let's talk about what our go-to tier 1. Let's pick 5 and say, I will pick this every single time I have the ability to when we win a round. We have a good round. We have 22 to use, 22 trade points to use or whatever. What are you going for automatically?
John, what's your take?
I always pick resilience as number 1. Getting that 100 HP back when you're revived can be huge. It can get you into the fight right away, or you can just use a first aid to heal up to full, depending on what your bar is. And then I use melee weapons a lot, so I'll do the melee traits. Determination, which is stamina, recovery sooner, and Greyhound, which lets you sprint longer. Both of those are really good for mobility across the map. And those are like my 3 after winning a match. I always have enough points to get those 3, and those are the ones that I always go for.
And they're pretty cheap. Yeah, Determination and Greyhound, fairly cheap.
Yeah, it's 443, I think, is what it is.
Nice.
Resilience is 4.
Yeah, I'm with you there. 100%, always resilience every time, especially as when you're playing in a group. Because if you go down, otherwise you would get revived with 1 health bar remaining.
Yeah.
Depends.
This gives you all of your health back, minus the one that you lost from going down.
Yeah.
So huge, and only 4 points you need to spend to get that trait. For me, it's tough because it depends on my loadout, and this is where it's interesting because, for example, if I'm running the Mosin or another, maybe the pump shotgun or the level, the other bolt action, whenever I go to reload, I will burn a bullet because for some reason your character is not smart enough to hold the bullet in the chamber as you cycle the bolt. So the bullet flies out and you lose one. And especially in this game where you only get something between 12 and 15 reserve shots for anything long, you're going to want bullet grubber. So this is the trait that allows you to save that round when you reload if you haven't spent every shot in your magazine. So bullet grubber almost always, depending on the loadout, if I'm not feeling a bolt action or a pump shotgun or the Bornheim that day, I might not take bullet grubber. But that's going to be usually one of my number 1s. And then also I'm with you, John, on the Greyhound and Determination because we got to sprint. It's all about getting places quick in this game. So you want to sprint longer and recover your stamina quicker. And I also like Pack Mule because I like that extra consumable. I like, I'm a loot goblin. It's been very much revealed on stream and on podcast that is my approach. So you got to get that Pack Mule to get that extra consumable.
Cool. All right, number 1 every single time is Bloodless for me.
Interesting.
And with the change, it's better. So once they did the update, Bloodless changed, and bleeding doesn't go from light to medium to severe or whatever it is, intense. I love Bloodless. It's only 4, and I get hit a lot. So I go for that right away, every single time. And then I will always always move down to the poison one. What is it, like
Mithrandist?
Yeah, whatever that is.
Yeah.
It reduces the need for recovery from poisoning because, again, I always get poisoned by something or another. And so when you get to that, I'm still under 10, and I have things that protect me from dying faster. And then sometimes I go physician, but I also like to go doctor more. So physician reduces the amount of time to bandage, but doctor doubles the bandaging effectiveness.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do those at the same time, though, in the same rounds. So I get one and then I get the other the next time.
Do you have a preference between one before the other?
A lot of times I do like physician, but I wait until I can get, like, I wait for when I can get doctor. It just makes more sense to say, all right, I can spend these two down, or I can, just wait around and win again. Because if I go with physician, then oftentimes I can get 2 to 3 more, which is, I can go for salve skin, which is to reduce burning.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I end up with maybe enough for determination, but a lot of times I don't end up with enough for determination right away. And I end up going down to resilience, or not resilience, adrenaline. Because I'll have like one left, and the adrenaline is your instantly start regenerating stamina when you're like hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And so I go with health things first all the time. And then if, say, I have 2 left at the end, I'll go with adrenaline and kite skin, because kite skin stops you. It reduces damage when you fall or jump off something high.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally, straight off the bat, all the time, I end up with stuff that helps me stay alive so that I can help compete. And it's worked well enough.
Yeah, it fits your play style. It fits that support role.
Yeah,
it makes sense. Yeah. So say we win a second round back to back. We got some more points to spend. You've got the ones that you really like. Now, what's the second round? What are you buying next?
These are the loadout specific ones. This is when I start doing the more preferential ones. So if I've got a crossbow for whatever reason, there are 2 good perks for that: reload speed and see the bolts that you fire.
Mm-hmm.
You don't usually get the see the bolts one, but the reload speed is really helpful, especially with a full size crossbow. Generally, I will use Level or Mosin, so I'll get Bullet Grubber. Silent Killer is a great one. For your melee hits, you don't go like or whatever.
Yeah, you don't make noise.
Like much quieter. I'm trying to think what else.
I think you're going to say Vulture, right?
Vulture is a good one. Yeah, it depends, because Vulture's really good. It's similar to Pack Mule. Like, you just end up getting more over time as we kill people. Frontiersman is a priority, and I love Physician, which is reduced bandage time. It can be so helpful in a fight. I would prefer Doctor, but it costs, I think it's 7 or 8.
It's expensive.
It's an expensive one, which is more help from health kits. Yeah. So that's a tough one to swallow, especially if I'm getting Bullet Grubber, which is 6. So I will do. I'll save Vulture or what's the other one that I mentioned? Anyway, the cheaper one,
Frontiersman.
Yes, Silent Killer. I'll save those 2 for the end if I have enough points. And this is also super dependent on how many health bars I lost the previous round. But I will usually get Physician, Bullet Grubber, and then either Frontiersman or Vulture, something like that.
Yeah.
My go-to on round 2 is always Pitcher.
Interesting.
I grab Pitcher first, because then I will decide whether or not I can go right for Doctor. So as long as we had a good round, I will go Pitcher, and then I will go Doctor, and I'll be left with smaller ones. Sometimes I don't use them. Sometimes I'll say, I will hold on to this because I'm not going to get something that I really want at this point, and I have to wait until the next round. But a lot of times we still have something left, and I'll end up going with something like Silent Killer or Lightfoot, something to kind of keep me quieter in general.
Yeah.
I just feel like being able to stay as silent as possible is very, very helpful in this game, especially when you can step on so much. Oddly enough, I don't go for beast face enough.
I don't either. I agree.
And that protects you from setting off the horses or the birds or the ducks or whatever. But I don't go for that enough, and I feel like that's an underutilized one, if anything, by all of us. And then Greyhound is always also in the second round if I have enough.
Oh, Salveskin. I've been getting that a lot lately.
You have? Yeah.
Good one, man.
Yeah. So the nice thing about that is the burn speed even while downed. So if somebody throws a lantern or whatever on my body, then I won't burn as fast, and that gives teammates more time to get to me.
Yeah. I think I agree with that one. I really like that one, especially when you're burning. But what Cody said about sound, it's such a huge part of the game, and it's something that we say almost every single time when we're trying to defend a downed token. We say, "Oh, I think I heard a guy just go huh," right? We say that all the time.
Yep.
And like, you could easily not ever do that if you just pick Silent Killer for 5 points. And I don't know why we don't go for that as often. I think of that as like a third or fourth win in a row perk. I don't go for it right away. Yeah. Same with Lightfoot. I never get Lightfoot. It's vault, jump, fall, and climb ladder silently. That's huge. You're jumping over a fence, you're making noise, and you can hear that. Other teams hear that. Like, why wouldn't you go for that? And I just don't think that way. Maybe I think because we're in a group and we make a lot of noise to begin with, and just me being silent is not going to help the team. Maybe it will. I don't know. But I think those are pretty underutilized, and I should get those more. But for me, for second round, it's all over the place, honestly. And think about what we've been talking about. We've been naming all of these different types of traits, and there's so much variety, and they're all so helpful and all so useful. Like, I like Vulture because I can loot more hunters. Again, loot goblin. I like the Doctor because I like extra first aid kits or more health from first aid kits. I never go for any of the iron sharpshooters or the remain in scope view. I never go for those things. But there's things that I go for, like Frontiersman. It gives you that extra tool, when I probably really should go for Beast Face, which is reduced reaction range of animals, because that's another thing where the crows fly up and the other teams see where you're coming from. There's just a lot of utility. Ghoul is a great one we haven't talked about, which I don't use that often, but it's only 4 points. Receive extra health when you loot a dead hunter. If you're in a firefight, you need to loot. Again, loot goblin. I'll get something extra for that. Fanning we didn't even talk about. That's an offensive one. Allows you to shoot your pistols faster. And I think that's pretty much it. But I mean, there's more here like that just aren't helpful, like Horn Skin. Never use that one. That's reduced damage from blunt melee.
I've never once used Horn Skin, and I never will use Horn Skin.
No.
It doesn't make enough sense when you can get Bulwark at the end.
Yeah, which that's an interesting one. They changed that recently, but basically it's reduced damage from explosions and bomb lance harpoon attacks specifically. So that makes it so you can't be instantly killed from a bomb
exactly lance. And so like nobody's going to melee you at the end. If somebody's coming at you with a melee end game when you're third tier in, say you've won 2 rounds, you're kind of hoping to get that retirement now. Like, I'd rather go Bulwark and protect myself from explosives than I would anybody coming at me with a saber at the end, because it's just not likely.
Yeah.
Additionally, decoy supply is stupid.
It's so dumb. No one's ever picking that.
John might have picked that one time.
No, accidentally.
No, you were saying very passive aggressively the other day that you kept getting decoys, and I thought, did he just pick up decoy supply on accident?
No, it's getting them from the fucking consumable boxes. It was so annoying.
Yeah.
You have to use tactical things or whatever, or misdirection things or whatever they're called, in order to unlock the other items, and I was just being completionist.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. What else don't I like very much? And I mean, any of the iron sight whatevers, right? Like stay in iron sights when, or stay ADS when, like those aren't useful to me. I guess maybe sometimes if you're using a bolt action, it's nice to just stay in ADS, but it's really not all that helpful.
I don't like it.
It actually screws me up because it stays in ADS when I want to take my weapon down to be able to jog and run away.
So something interesting I just realized is the trait that lets you quartermaster. I think it is. Yeah, quartermaster can equip a medium slot in addition to a large slot weapon, so it basically gives you an extra slot to work with. That means you can take dual wielding, and that is 1 point cheaper than fanning. And fanning will still give you a faster rate of fire, but I feel like the utility for dual wielding might be a little bit stronger overall.
Oh yeah, the only one that it would change in is the belt weapon. Right, like it's probably better to have fanning when you're using the belt gun than it is to dual wield a belt gun.
I agree. Yeah, that doesn't.
But other than that, go with the dual wielding every single time. And I also noticed that quartermaster thing just while we were recording, that I could bring in dual wielding brawlers and then like the full form Nagin.
Yeah.
Mosin, sorry.
The quartermaster trait is the one that really changes the game. It changes how you approach your loadout.
It's pretty big.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I like it because I like having that long range, or I should say full size, not long range at all, full size auto 5 plus a mini Mosin. Like that is just a crazy loadout. It's so expensive, but it is just ultra powerful from long range and close range. Medium leaves a little to desire.
The long and short of this is it really gives you these traits change the way you play the game almost as much, if not more, than the loadout you've chosen to begin with. You can take a shitty loadout, and then if you win one, you can improve that loadout and not spend money and make yourself twice as good as you had been before without being overpowered either. So
imagine you get a person with a Winfield, you pick up levering for 3, and that gives you like crazy fiery rate with lever action.
It gives you a close range weapon in a pinch.
Yeah. Also, the other thing with the reloading, another conditional one, if you are dual wielding, you should pick up the reload better trait.
It does dual wielding significantly.
It's crazy how much
ambidextrous one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that one's really good. I think 2 that are kind of like dark horses, I would say, are Poacher and Dauntless. I haven't effectively used Dauntless, but I really want to.
I want to see somebody do
That's disarm thrown explosives?
Yeah. Can be defused when interacting with them. So kind of like in Call of Duty, how you'd be able to run over and throw a grenade back. You can run up and disable like a frag bomb or a sticky bomb or a dynamite stick or whatever, and that would be like a sick hero play.
That's all or nothing. Yeah.
Aside from decoys, I want to mention that the trash of trash, I think, and the most underlooked is conduit. I think it's totally useless. Very rarely would you need to fight at a clue. I think we've done it twice this week, and that was the most ever.
And it happened to be down health and need it when you go to pick up the clue.
Yeah, because like you'll get engaged in the first clue or on the way to the first clue. But chances are you've just killed the team anyway, and you're at a location where you can find a health box. Or you heal yourself, you loot the person, and then you can get a first aid back. And so it just doesn't make sense to me to keep having this in here, especially for 4. I'm never going to spend 4 on that. If you made it 1, I'd be like, or 2, I'd be like, all right, I can
throw
do
it in
that
extra
from time to time just for funsies.
Yeah.
But on a clue, you have to get it from a clue, and that just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's nice to have that consistent place for healing, but there are so many first aids, and we're all or like the health boxes around, and we're already taking first aids, and it's better to just get Ghoul in that case, because if you run into a hunter, you kill them, loot them, as well as getting 50 health back, I think.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But Poacher place and disarm traps quietly. We listen for people disarming our traps, and we haven't really heard it. Usually just run into them, because they're actually pretty hard to see, especially depending on where you are. But I think that one could be crazy useful, doing it on the fly or anything like that. Bolt Seer is terrible, which is bolts and throwing knives are highlighted in dark sight for better visibility. I think that's a terrible trait.
Not worth the cost. All right, I think I've talked to death about traits. What do you guys think?
I agree. Dan's dead.
I died. I'm waiting for the revive. I don't have resilience. I'm in trouble. Big trouble.
All right, call the hotline. Let us know what you think about this and what you want to hear us talk about next week. That's it. Call the goddamn hotline.
Call it.
Love you.
Wear a fucking mask, for the love of God.